Have you ever held a coin in your hand and felt like you were holding a piece of American history? Well, today, we're diving deep into one of those hidden treasures that often slips through the cracks, the 1961 Jefferson nickel, also known as the Monticello Thomos Jefferson nickel. This little 5-cent piece might not look like much at first glance, but for collectors, it holds a fascinating story filled with history, value, and even some rare and valuable errors that could turn a humble nickel into a coin worth hundreds, or even thousands, of dollars. So sit back, relax, and let's take a journey into the past to uncover the secrets behind the 1961 Jefferson nickel. The Jefferson nickel was first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. The design features our third president, Thomas Jefferson, and was created by artist Felix Schlag. His portrait of Jefferson has become one of the most iconic in American coinage. Now, the 1961 Jefferson nickel was minted in two locations, Philadelphia and Denver. Coins from Philadelphia bear no mint mark, while the ones struck in Denver carry a small D mint mark on the reverse side. Just to the right of Monticello. In total, over 229 million nickels were minted in Philadelphia and another 229 million in Denver. That's a big number, but don't let it fool you. Not all of these coins are created equal. You see, when it comes to collecting, it's not always about how many were made, it's about how many still exist in pristine condition. And that's where things get interesting. The vast majority of 1961 nickels were circulated and show significant wear. But if you can find a Jefferson nickel from this year in mint state, especially MS-65 or higher, you've got something special. These high-grade examples are tough to come by, and collectors will pay a premium for them. Let's talk numbers. A typical 1961 nickel found in pocket change or an old coin jar. It's worth face value, 5 cents. Maybe a little more if it's in good condition. But a 1961 nickel graded MS-65 by PCGS or NGC can fetch anywhere from $10 to $25. That's a big jump for a nickel. Now here's where it really gets exciting. Some coins graded MS-66 or MS-67, with sharp details and full steps on Monticello, have sold for hundreds of dollars at auction. And yes, you heard that right. A 5-cent coin turning into hundreds of dollars simply because of its condition and details. What do we mean by full steps? Well, on the reverse side of the Jefferson nickel, Monticello, Jefferson's home, is prominently displayed. Collectors look closely at the steps leading up to the building. If all 5 or 6 steps are clearly struck without breaks, the coin is classified as having full steps. This detail dramatically increases a coin's value, especially for years where striking quality was lower, like 1961. But that's not all. Some rare errors from 1961 make these nickels even more desirable. There are known examples of off-center strikes, double dies, and even die cracks from this year. A double die on either side, especially one that affects the wording or Jefferson's features, can add hundreds of dollars to the value. One well-known 1961 D nickel with a strong double die obverse has sold for over $600 at auction. So, the next time you go through your old coin collection, or even your change jar, take a moment. Look at those nickels. Check the year. If you see 1961, look at the mint mark, inspect the steps of Monticello, and see if any doubling or oddities catch your eye, because that little coin might just be a hidden gem, and there's something poetic about that, isn't there? A simple nickel from 1961, the same year President Kennedy took office, the same year the Freedom Riders challenged segregation, quietly sitting in your drawer, holding value not just in cents, but in history. For many of you watching, you might remember that year vividly. Maybe you were a teenager, or just starting your career. Maybe your parents gave you a nickel to buy a soda or a comic book. And now, decades later, that same coin has become a collector's treasure. That's the beauty of coin collecting. It's not just about metal and numbers. It's about stories. It's about preserving the past. And it's about discovering value in the places we least expect. So go ahead, check your change, dust off that old coin album, and see what treasures you might have hidden away. Because the 1961 Jefferson nickel is more than just 5 cents. It's a small piece of American history, and maybe, just maybe, your next valuable find. We're going to dive deep into the world of this nickel, exploring its history, how it was made, the rare errors collectors are hunting for, and what it could be worth today. So sit back, relax, and let's take a journey through time and money. Let's start with the basics. The Jefferson nickel has been a part of American coinage since 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. Designed by artist Felix Schlag, it features the profile of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, the front, and his famous Virginia home, Monticello, on the reverse. In 1985, the United States Mint in Philadelphia produced over 705 million of these Jefferson nickels. That's right, over 705 million coins. With numbers that high, you might wonder, why should I care about one little nickel from 1985? Well, the answer lies in the details. Not every 1985 nickel is the same. Some have small differences, mistakes made during minting, or features that make them stand out, and those are the ones collectors are after. Now let's talk about that P mark above Monticello. This tiny letter tells us that the coin was minted in Philadelphia. Before 1980, nickels from Philadelphia didn't carry any mint mark at all. But starting in that year, the mint began adding the P to the design. So, by 1985, it was standard. While that little P might not seem like much, it helps collectors track down where and how these coins were made. And in the world of coin collecting, every detail matters. Now, here's where things get exciting. Among those hundreds of millions of nickels, a few slipped through the cracks with minting errors, and these are the true treasures. One of the most sought-after errors on the 1985 P. Jefferson nickel is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin isn't properly aligned in the press, and part of the design is missing or shifted. The more off-center the strike, the rarer the coin, and the more valuable. Another rare error is the double die. That's when the coin's design appears to be doubled, especially around the lettering or date. These are harder to find, but when you do, they can fetch a good price from collectors. There's also something called a die clash, which occurs when the coin dies strike each other without a planchet. That's the blank coin piece in between. This leaves an imprint of one side of the coin on the other, creating a ghostly or overlapping image. Even more subtle errors, like a repunched mint mark or die cracks, can increase the value of the coin, if you know what to look for. Now, let's talk money. A regular 1985 P. Jefferson nickel without any errors, in average circulated condition, is still worth about 5 cents. However, if the coin is in mint state, meaning it was never used and still looks brand new, it could sell for anywhere from $1 to $10, depending on its condition. But if you have one with an error, that's where the real value kicks in. For example, an off-center error can go for $20 to $100 or more depending on how dramatic the error is. A double die could fetch $50, $100, or even higher if it's in good shape and clearly visible. High-grade nickels with sharp detail and no wear, especially those graded MS66 or MS67, have been sold for up to $500 in auctions. That's right, a 5-cent coin turning into hundreds of dollars just because of a mistake during minting. You might ask, why would anyone pay that much for a nickel? The answer is simple: collectors love stories. And every error, every rare version of a coin, tells a unique story about American history, craftsmanship, and sometimes, good old-fashioned luck. Older collectors, like many of you watching, often pass down their collections to younger generations. That's part of what keeps these coins alive and valuable, the memories attached to them, and the knowledge that someone might discover a hidden gem in an old cigar box or kitchen drawer. Right now, Jefferson nickels, especially ones with errors, are gaining interest in the collecting world. As more people search their coins, demand grows, and so does value. So the next time you get change from the store or dig through an old jar of coins, keep an eye out for the 1985 P. Jefferson nickel. Look closely. Examine the date, the mint mark, and every little detail. You never know, you might just have a rare and valuable coin sitting right in your hand. Even if it's not worth hundreds, it's still a piece of American history. And sometimes, holding a little piece of the past is just as valuable as anything money can buy. Let's start with a bit of history. The 1987 P. Monticello nickel was minted during a time when America was transitioning into a new era, both in terms of culture and coinage. It was the 200th anniversary of Thomas Jefferson's birth, and the coin's design honored this important historical figure. The nickel features the famous Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia plantation home, on the reverse side of the coin, as well as a portrait of Jefferson himself on the obverse. But what makes this coin stand out among other nickels? Well, it's not just the anniversary of Jefferson's birth that makes the 1987 P Monticello nickel special, it's the fact that it represents a period of significant change in the U.S. Mint's design philosophy. The coin is part of a long-running series that features Jefferson's image, but the 1987 release was the first one minted after a major redesign in 1938, when the nickel became known as the Jefferson nickel. Now, let's talk about the minting year itself, 1987. This was a year of stability in the United States after the economic challenges of the 1970s and early 1980s. The mint's production that year was steady, and the 1987 P Monticello nickel was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, denoted by the P mint mark on the coin. This mint mark is particularly significant because it was one of the first years that the Philadelphia Mint began using the P to mark coins, making this particular year even more notable for collectors. Looking at the coin itself, you'll notice its classic design. On the obverse, we see a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, designed by artist Felix Schlag. Jefferson, one of the founding fathers and the third president of the United States, is captured in a dignified pose. The reverse side showcases Monticello, Jefferson's stately home, which was designed by architect James Hoban and played a significant role in shaping American architecture. Above Monticello, you'll see the inscription E pluribus unum and 5 cents, indicating the coin's denomination. As with any coin, collectors are always on the lookout for errors or unique variations. The 1987 P Monticello nickel, while mostly known for its standard design, does have a few notable things to look out for. While no major errors are commonly associated with this coin, there have been reports of minor die cracks and slight misstrikes that can add value to the piece. If you come across a 1987 P Monticello nickel with a noticeable error, you could be holding a rare find, which is why it's always important to examine these coins closely. Additionally, some collectors also focus on the condition of the coin. A 1987 P Monticello nickel in mint state, with no wear or tarnish, will always be more valuable than a well-circulated version. This is one reason why coins that have been kept in pristine condition, whether in a protective holder or collection, can fetch a premium. Now, you might be wondering, what is the value of the 1987 P Monticello nickel today? Well, the answer isn't as straightforward as you might think. The value of this coin varies depending on several factors, such as its condition, any errors, and the current market demand. Typically, the 1987 P Monticello nickel isn't worth much more than its face value, just 5 cents, unless it's in particularly good condition or has an error. However, for well-preserved examples in uncirculated condition, you could expect to see prices in the range of a few dollars. And if you're lucky enough to find one with a significant error, the value could rise considerably. Some rare coins, even those that seem relatively modern, can become incredibly valuable if they meet the right criteria. So, what makes the 1987 P Monticello nickel so popular among collectors? For one, it's part of the broader Jefferson nickel series, which has a dedicated following. Collectors of this series are always on the lookout for coins that represent different years and mint marks. The 1987 P is no exception. It might not be the rarest or most valuable coin in the series, but it's a part of the set and holds its place in history. Additionally, the appeal of the Monticello design is undeniable. Monticello is an iconic American landmark, and the image of Jefferson's home is a beloved symbol of American history. It connects collectors to a simpler time, a time when Jefferson was alive and the country was still in its early years. Owning a coin that represents that history is part of the allure for collectors, especially those who appreciate the deeper stories behind the coins they collect. Before we wrap up, let me share a few interesting facts about the 1987 P Monticello nickel. The P mint mark. As mentioned earlier, the P mint mark on this coin is significant because it marks the Philadelphia Mint's use of this letter to denote coins produced there. The use of the P mint mark only began in 1980, so coins from this era are particularly interesting to collectors. The role of Monticello. Thomas Jefferson's Monticello was not only his home, but also a place of innovation and learning. Jefferson designed it himself, drawing from his studies of classical architecture. The coin's reverse side gives us a glimpse of this remarkable structure, and it remains one of the most famous buildings in America. The longevity of the Jefferson nickel. The Jefferson nickel has been in circulation since 1938 and is one of the longest-running designs in American coinage. It's been redesigned several times, but the Monticello reverse has remained a part of the series for decades, and there you have it, the story of the 1987 P. Monticello Thomos Jefferson nickel. While it may not be the rarest or most valuable coin out there, it holds an important place in the world of numismatics. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting your journey into the world of coins, this nickel offers a fascinating look into American history and coinage. Remember, when you're hunting for rare coins, it's not just about the value, it's about the history, the stories, and the connections you make along the way. So, next time you come across a 1987 P. Monticello nickel, take a moment to appreciate its significance. Who knows? You might just be holding a piece of history in your hand. To truly appreciate the 1989 P. Monticello nickel, we have to start with its history. The design of the nickel has its roots in the legacy of Thomas Jefferson, one of the founding fathers and the third president of the United States. He is honored on the obverse of the coin, his portrait capturing his dignified, forward-thinking character. But what's really intriguing about this particular nickel is the design on the reverse, which features Monticello, the grand home Jefferson built for himself in Virginia. The Monticello design was first introduced in 1938, but the coin we're talking about today, the 1989 P. Monticello nickel, carries the signature of a much more modern era. Minted in Philadelphia, hence the P mint mark, it's part of the series of nickels that started in 1938 and continues to be popular among collectors, especially for its representation of American history. Now, let's look at the minting process. The United States Mint produces billions of coins every year, but only a select few become truly special. The 1989 P. Monticello nickel is one of those coins. Struck at the Philadelphia Mint, it's made of the same copper-nickel composition as other nickels. It weighs 5 grams and has a diameter of 21.2 millimeters, just like the nickels you'd find in your pocket today, but here's the catch, the 1989 P. Monticello nickel, while mass-produced, is still considered a relatively low mintage coin. The Philadelphia Mint produced just over 1 billion of them, but only a small fraction of those coins have survived in pristine condition. This rarity can drive up the value for collectors looking for well-preserved examples of this historic coin. You might be thinking, why is this coin worth looking at? Well, sometimes the value of a coin lies not only in its design and historical significance but also in any errors that might have occurred during minting. With the 1989 P. Monticello nickel, there are a few potential error coins that collectors find especially intriguing. One of the most notable errors to look for is the double die variety. In these coins, the reverse or obverse shows a slight doubling of the design elements, often making the lettering or numbers appear doubled or even blurry. The presence of such errors can significantly boost a coin's value. However, it's important to know that these errors are rare, so if you come across one, be sure to inspect it carefully. Another error to look for is a misaligned die strike. This can result in a coin where the image is slightly off-center, giving it a unique and collectible look. If you're lucky enough to find a well-struck error of the 1989 P. Monticello nickel, you could be holding on to a real treasure. So, what about the value of the 1989 P. Monticello nickel today? Well, the value of any coin depends largely on its condition. A typical 1989 P. Monticello nickel in average circulated condition can be worth around 5 to 10 cents. But if you're lucky enough to find one in excellent condition, uncirculated or even proof-like, its value can rise dramatically. In top-notch condition, these coins can be worth anywhere from $1 to $10. And if you find one with a rare error or minting flaw, you could be looking at a much higher value, possibly even hundreds of dollars, depending on the severity of the error and the interest from collectors. It's all about the condition, rarity, and demand. You may be wondering, why are collectors so interested in this coin? Well, the 1989 P. Monticello nickel holds a special place in the hearts of many numismatists because it represents a key part of American history and the ongoing tradition of Jefferson's legacy. Monticello, as a symbol of Jefferson's vision, speaks to a time when the United States was expanding and shaping its identity. Collectors today are drawn to the 1989 P. Monticello nickel because it's a coin that balances historical importance with rarity. As the years pass, fewer of these coins remain in mint condition, making them more sought after by those looking to complete their Jefferson nickel collections. The 1989 P. Monticello nickel also stands out because of its continued significance in American coinage. Even though newer designs have replaced it, it's still a piece of the nation's rich coinage history that resonates with collectors. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or just starting your collection, the 1989 P nickel is a must-have. Before we wrap up, let me share a few fun facts about the 1989 P Monticello nickel that you might not know. Did you know that the Monticello on the reverse side of the coin was modeled after Jefferson's home in Charlottesville, Virginia? It's a beautiful piece of architecture that reflects the character of its builder. Also, many people don't realize that the Thomos Jefferson portrait on the obverse of the coin is the same one that was used on the 1800s nickel designs. The Mint decided to keep it as a tribute to Jefferson's lasting legacy in American history, and here's a final tidbit: the 1989 P Monticello nickel is one of the last in a series of coins that still carry the classic, detailed design of Monticello. Modern coins tend to have more simplified designs, but this particular nickel retains that historic touch that collectors love. So, there you have it, a closer look at the 1989 P Monticello Thomos Jefferson nickel. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone who appreciates the beauty and history of coins, this piece has a place in your collection. It's a reminder of a time when the United States was still growing into the nation we know today, and the coin reflects that era's values and vision. Keep your eyes peeled for this coin, and if you happen to find one in exceptional condition, or better yet, one with an error, be sure to hold on to it. Who knows? It could be the key to adding significant value to your collection. Now, I know many of you are already familiar with the Jefferson nickel, a classic American coin that's been around for decades. But today, we're specifically focusing on the 1998 D variety, and let me tell you, this coin has a story that you'll want to hear. Let's start by talking about its history. The Jefferson nickel was first introduced in 1938, designed by Felix Schlag, and it's been a part of American coinage ever since. The reverse design features Monticello, the home of Thomas Jefferson, which symbolizes the legacy of our third president and one of the founding fathers of the United States. This coin has always been about honoring Jefferson's contribution to the nation. But in 1998, this humble nickel was minted with a particular set of characteristics that make it stand out in today's market. So, why are we focusing on the 1998 D version? For starters, it's important to note that the D mint mark signifies that this coin was produced at the Denver Mint. Each year, the United States Mint produces coins at various mints, and Denver is one of the most well-known. Now, you might be asking, what makes the 1998 D Monticello nickel special? Let's break it down. In terms of design, it features the classic Monticello building on the reverse, with the inscription E Pluribus Unum and Monticello above it. But it's the subtle details that make this coin stand out. When you look closely, you'll notice that the coin was minted during a period when the United States was transitioning its coin designs, so the quality of the strike and the craftsmanship of this particular year is notable. One thing that makes the 1998 D Monticello nickel even more interesting is the fact that this coin was struck during a time when certain production issues were being addressed by the U.S. Mint. Some collectors have noted slight variations in the design due to these adjustments, especially with the way the details of Monticello's columns appear. These small differences contribute to the uniqueness of this coin and can affect its value. Now, let's talk about the value of the 1998 D Monticello nickel today. You might be surprised to learn that the 1998 D is not just your average nickel. While it was initially released into circulation, this coin has gained the attention of collectors over the years, especially those who focus on modern mint errors and varieties. In most cases, you can find this coin in circulation for its face value of just 5 cents. However, when it comes to well-preserved specimens or those with certain minting errors, the value starts to rise. For example, if you happen to find a 1998 D Monticello nickel in near mint condition, it could fetch anywhere from $1 to $5. But if you get your hands on one that's in perfect, uncirculated condition, the price could go even higher, depending on demand and market trends. And if you're lucky enough to find one with a minting error, such as a double die or a misshapen design, the value can increase dramatically. Some of these error coins have been known to sell for $10 or more at auctions, especially among dedicated collectors who value these unique characteristics. Speaking of minting errors, let's dive into that a bit more. While the 1998 Di Monticello nickel is not known for widespread errors, there are some interesting cases that collectors have found over the years. For example, a few coins were struck with a misalignment of the dies, causing parts of the design to appear off-center or double-stamped. These errors can be rare and highly sought after, making the coin even more valuable, but beyond the errors, the real appeal of the 1998 Di Monticello nickel lies in its connection to the history of our nation. Remember, Monticello was not just a home, it was a place of learning, where Jefferson spent many years crafting the ideals that shaped our country. Holding a coin that features this historic landmark is like holding a small piece of American history in your hand. The demand for this coin has been steadily growing among collectors, especially those who are focused on assembling complete collections of Jefferson nickels. And it's not just the collectors who are interested in this coin, this nickel has also piqued the interest of investors. As more people turn to coins as an investment, coins like the 1998 Di Monticello nickel are starting to gain traction, particularly among those who recognize the long-term potential of these pieces. What's fascinating about the 1998 Di Monticello nickel is its timelessness. While it's not a coin that's likely to make headlines like rare gold or silver coins, it represents the kind of overlooked treasure that many seasoned collectors know holds a special place in their collections. It's a coin that tells a story, not just of Thomas Jefferson and his legacy, but of the everyday American who's kept these coins in their pocket over the years, unknowingly holding on to a valuable piece of history. Before we wrap up, let's talk about where to find this coin. If you're looking to add the 1998 Di Monticello nickel to your collection, you might have some luck searching through rolls of nickels at your local bank, checking online auction sites, or visiting coin shows. Be sure to look for coins that are well preserved and examine any potential errors closely. Even small details, like a clear strike or a particular variation in the minting process, can make a big difference in value. To sum it up, the 1998 Di Monticello Thomas Jefferson nickel is a coin that offers both historical significance and collector value. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or a casual collector, it's a coin that's definitely worth keeping an eye on. And remember, with the right condition and the right eye for detail, this nickel could be more than just pocket change. It could be a valuable addition to your collection. Thanks for joining me today, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss an update on the rarest coins in history. Until next time, keep your eyes peeled for those hidden gems, and happy collecting.